Hello everyone, Justin with Deep Dive Stocks here, and today is Tuesday, September 9th, and this is the After Hours Market Dive. A pretty exciting day today in the market, so let's go ahead and get started. Today, I'm going to show you some cool things with the liquidity scanner. This isn't really part of the After Hours Market, so don't count it towards the time. But on the left here is the scanner that I showed in the video before on the liquidity scanner. But I modified it a little bit, namely reorganized it, put some extra additional symbols in it. But also I added this little panel here on the right so that you can actually sort of watch the constituents of each basket, throughout the day. You can actually look at the price in this pretty nice little simplified way, but then you get this nice liquidity view next to it, right? So we can see, here things start getting bearish, like on commodities, right? Things start flatlining, not really doing really good. We can see that even with this price appreciation, things are still bearish. Bonds bearish, and they pretty much just went down for the whole day. And this is on the 15 minutes, so a pretty good time frame for just checking out the day. So yeah, I just wanted to show that as a cool little thing. So feel free to check it out. If you try it out and come up with something interesting or cool, definitely let me know. This is just the regular liquidity scanner. We won't go through that. But first, let's watch the Apple. So let's look at Apple. Apple was down after their announcement today. I don't have any opinions on their announcement other than I don't think it was any form of an announcement. Like, you can't really have an announcement to say that you're going to be doing the same thing that you've always been doing. It kind of flies in the face of what announcement is. So let's go ahead and look. So this is on the 5 minutes. So we open up at 9 in the morning and already we have this bearish liquidity. We're bearish, bearish, bearish. We hit that resistance. We go off of it. We bounce down. We quickly transition to bullish. It is worth noting that this bullish activity is a bull trap for those who have watched the bull trap video. And so it means that it doesn't necessarily mean that the price isn't going to go up when an equity is, or any instrument is in a bull trap. The idea is that it is going to go up, but it's going to be a trap, right? Like, you have to quickly get out of it before the trap springs. And so there's this heightened awareness, heightened threat. And we see that it doesn't really spring, but it does fall back to support. But then we do get that bearish liquidity start popping in right at, like, I would say the first candle here at 1355. We won't count this one, this little brief guy. But the 1355, it starts kicking off with that bearish liquidity. We get this nice aggressive ask cascade popping in. So we know there's a lot of ask floating around. And it seems that is how conditions have ended. So we have this aggressive ask cascade that entered in after this bull trap that was right after the market opened with bearish liquidity on Apple to begin with. And so the outlook seems to be continued downside, right? We can put on, since this is an aggressive ask cascade, we can put on the lower order LDPMs to see if we can find any evidence of a scoop. And let's see if there's some scoop action happening. And there is. That's a reasonable scoop. So if this is new to you, go check out the aggressive bid and the aggressive ask cascade videos. But this is a nice aggressive, it's a messy aggressive bid, aggressive ask cascade. We see that the LDPMs are coming down and scooping, but not really being respected that much, right? Spot is still falling below those lower order LDPMs. So there is a scoop, but it seems pretty weak. So expectations do seem firmly set on continued downside for now. So we'll get rid of those. Next up, let's look at how Bitcoin progressed throughout the day. So we started out with this bearish liquidity off of a LDPM L7 bounce. It is worth keeping in mind too, the opposite of what we saw on Apple is that this is a bear trap. So let's look at the start of the day, the start of the 9th. And by now we're inside of this bear trap, right? We've bounced off support, but LDPS is still bearish, and LDPM stack is still bullish. So let's slow this down. So it seems like we get snagged on that resistance at LDPM L5, and then at 1:45 in the morning, a nice bullish liquidity surge comes through. And we're bullish. price stagnates, so we might test LDPM L5 for support, in which we do. We bounce, we maintain bullish until we don't. So right here at 10 a.m., we see that we bounce, we go for another bounce, but we immediately become bearish. And then that tells us that the support is likely to fail, which it does. So we're bullish. Bam, right? And in fact, it fails. LDPM L5 fails, and then we actually get caught on LDPM L6, which rises a little bit to meet spot. So we get that support, but we're still bearish, so we're likely going to test LDPM L6 again, which we do, and then we bounce off LDPM L7, but bearish liquidity actually just gets worse. That pink gets even pinker. And so we continue. So what happens? We continue down, we're bearish. We bounce, we migrate slightly up to that resistance, bounce down, and right now it looks like at, what time is it? 16:45, and this is the 15-minute. It looks like there is a bullish surge, a bullish liquidity push to get back above that LDPM L7. And it is worth noting again that this is a bear trap, right? So the expectation is, unless those LDPMs start to flip, that we're ultimately going to start recovering from this. And it looks like this may be underway for now with that nice green candle. We have the LDPMs bending down, so a little bit of an aggressive bid cascade walking in, and we're recovering from this bear trap. So this is a tenuously bullish chart, right? We're right in the literal first steps of recovering from this bear trap. So definitely something to keep an eye on as we move forward. And next up, let's take a look at the GME. This is the 1 minute. This is the 1 minute. I'm gonna watch not the whole day, but just the earnings. Earnings. We're gonna get rid of these guys. All right, so we start right before market close. We have this bearish liquidity, little bit of a bear trap though, for those following along at home. And then let's see, we push back through LDPM, we get the bullish liquidity, we get a eager ask steps in, short-lived, bullish liquidity returns. Now we're approaching, are we at the earnings? No, for a few more minutes. So we're bullish. We get that nice price movement. Things are still bullish. And then we get this very substantial aggressive bid cascade walks in. And then I guess actually, should I keep these on? Since we're watching an aggressive bid cascade in detail. So there we go. We see those dipping down. We see the wave starting to happen. So we know price appreciation is going to be a little muted. It looks reasonably respected, but we're still maintaining that bullish liquidity. We get a little bit of flow to bid, organic bid. So now we're essentially being pushed down. We have that bearish liquidity, but those supports seem to be holding. And I do remember. So, and look at the scoops happening. That's pretty cool. We have, so that bearish liquidity dissolved to bullish liquidity a few minutes in, about 3 minutes, 3 minutes in. But really it looks like, so we got bullish, bullish, bullish. So bullish is the name of the game where we go up. And so the expectation is just to keep going up as long as the liquidity is bullish. And then it's not, unfortunately. So it looks like at 16:53, we get bearish liquidity walks back in. So it's increased risk of needing to test LDPM L5 for support at 24.22. And that seems to be something that we will find out later. Oh, no, it did. It's doing that right now. So we're testing support at LDPM L5 with bearish liquidity. The name of the game is just to monitor the situation, see if the liquidity switches back to bullish, in which case we should bounce up. But if that liquidity keeps its bearish prints, then the LDPM L5 support failing is the most likely outcome. But for now, it looks like a little bit of a bounce is underway. So probably not too surprising if bullish liquidity returns. And again, this is on the 1 minute, so we're like in the weeds here. We're looking almost like transaction by transaction. Because if we look at the 15, especially in the post market, if we look at the 15 minute, we do see the aggressive bid cascade walks in, but overall, at least on the 15 minute, things still look tentatively bullish. And so, the 1 minute is telling us that there might be a $1 or $2 wiggle room as that support, and still some more bullish liquidity into things. The 15-minute gives a little bit more of a bullish painting, right, for more longer term and bigger price movements. So definitely an interesting situation, right? But we're bouncing nicely off this support. We didn't crash through it. And the 15 minutes is looking pretty bullish. So I don't think I would be surprised if tomorrow, the market's open and that bullish liquidity continues. I think the 1 minute, you're in a little tugboat in the middle of the ocean. You're going to get tossed around by those waves. But on the 50-minute, in a slightly larger boat, we can see that things are still doing pretty okay. So that's actually pretty exciting for the GME crowd. I haven't looked to see what the earnings completely entailed. I heard there was something about warrants, which is, an exciting development. So definitely worth keeping an eye out for. And so, yeah, that is the After Hours Market Dive for a pretty exciting day, right? Apple, unfortunate bull trap during its announcement, but looks like the bearish liquidity, really set the theme for the day. The Bitcoin was, kind of, we had a little bit of a bear trap, bullish activity that really didn't give us anything, and then returned to downside with what now seems to be a struggling bullish attempt at taking over AAPL 7. And it looks like GME on the 15 as well is looking bullish, despite that 1 minute looking a little rocky, right? The 15-minute started bullish liquidity at 2:45 p.m., and it's still maintaining its bullish liquidity. A little bit of profit taking occurring, but it doesn't seem like it's anything that GME can't handle right now, right? At least in the after hours. So it'll be interesting to see how things open. All right, guys, that'll be it for today. This has been Justin with Deep Dive Stocks for the After Hours Market Dive. Thank you for joining, and I will see you guys next time. Adios and happy trading.